All right. So, super pumped. I appreciate you joining me for this conversation. And I'll tell you right now, I really enjoyed 10X Growth. And I know there was mixed feelings because some people who I did speak with, who went to the event, some of them said, you know, they got some good value. They liked it. It was good. Some people were like blown away. They said it was amazing. And then there were some people who left and said it was awful. So I know there was mixed feelings on this. I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan. And I never really had too much of an interaction with Grant Cardone. This is my first, you know, I heard of him. I watched a couple of his videos, but never been to an event, never read any of his books. But I followed him a little bit. But I'll tell you right now, there was a tremendous amount of value. And I think about who I was going into the event, just to kind of set a free frame for you. I went on a whole personal growth journey. So on in September, I went on a total immersion for in San Francisco with you know, just meditation and alignment with my inner self. And that was September, all about me. And then so September focused on me. October focused on business. Went to a big conference, strategic leadership's conference for Cutco conference. Focused solely on the business. November went to UPW with Unleash the Power Within. That was about energy management, a lot more about myself. Then in December went to Date with Destiny with my wife. That was a lot more about alignment with my story, with my relationship with my wife. And then January we had a spring kickoff conference, which was definitely business focused. And then of course February was 10X Growth Con, which was really focused on execution and implementation. So the framework that I'm creating for you is that every seminar has its own intentionality. And I feel like the intentionality behind this seminar specifically for 10X Growth Con was really wired for me for integration, execution, implementation. How do I implement? So what I wanted to talk to you about is I broke down the message, and I'm just going to review my notes with each of you on some of the things that I learned. So the first question, if you're following along, if you're taking notes, if you're going through this, Grant asked, what would 10X my life look like? So that was a really good question and a framework that he started with. What would 10X in my life look like? So the way he described it and the way I described it to myself was to scale my business to which I can create a life without limitations, essentially where I could be protected, but also have freedom. So that's how I defined 10Xing my life, being protected, but also having freedom. And I like that framework of what 10X your life could look like, because then you have an idea of what the picture is, what we're going towards. And then then the next question I wrote down is, what am I resisting that if I pushed back on would be life-changing? So what am I resisting that if I push back on would be life-changing? That's a pretty loaded question. The way I interpreted that for me was online marketing for myself and scaling my influence nationally. For me, if I was able to scale my influence and position myself where I could do a lot of online marketing, online selling, working remotely from home, it's going to allow me to be there for my family, be there for my wife, my future kids. It will allow me to influence the masses, to align with my personal mission statement that I have, which is to educate, inspire, and be a force for good for myself and others. So I want to align with my core values, with my purpose in life, my mission statement, so making a positive impact while making sure that I could take care of my home life. So that's something that shows up for me. That's really important. So the online marketing and scaling my influence nationally, I've kind of resisted it in the past, just due to overthinking it, indecisiveness, wanting to make it perfect. You know, I get kind of crippled sometimes because I want to make things perfect, and it's not aligned. It's not running the way I want it. I don't know if anybody has ever had that happen to you, but essentially it's called a paralysis analysis, and I've been guilty of paralysis analysis so many damn times. And that's the one thing that if I'm resisting, if I push back on it, it would be life-changing. So that was one of my implementations that I wanted to leave the conference with. And the way Grant Cardone started the conference, he defined sales, and it was a really cool, healthy exercise. He defined sales as making contact. That's all he said sales is. Sales is making contact. It's a contact sport. If I make contact with you, there's a chance that you will make contact with me in return. You might get back in contact with me, and that's all sales is making contact. So he put everyone on this idea. It was really cool. He said, everyone take out your phone. He put a countdown on the screen, and he did it first to demonstrate. And he scrolled and swiped, and everyone did a countdown, and he stopped. Boom. And he called live from stage whoever that person was, and he clicked send, and he got on the phone, and they didn't answer. He said, hey, this is Grant Cardone leaving you a message. I want to run something by you. I need 4 or 5 minutes of your time on Wednesday. Could you give me some time so I could tell you what I'm working on? Appreciate it. Bye. So then boom, everyone in the audience did it. So I swiped, I did it and landed on Bob Sell. Now, honestly, in the moment, I was like, who the hell's Bob Sell? I didn't know who Bob Sell was. It was, it was just Bob Sell. So I called and got a voicemail, and Bobby Clifton's listening. So if he is, it was Bobby Clifton. I haven't talked to Bobby in a decade. And I used to watch Bobby Clifton play in Down by 9. I was like a groupie for their band. So I haven't talked to the kid in a long time. Now he's a grown-ass man. And I was like, cool, Bob Sell, boom. So I left Bob a message saying, hey, it's Mike Abramowitz. I know it's been a while, but I want to run something by you. If I could get 5 minutes of your time on Wednesday, that'd be great. And that was it. But what's nice is the purpose of that was just to create action. Because, just like any guru says, any expert in the industry says, is that never make a decision without some sort of small action followed by massive action. So if you make a decision, you always want to take small action and then massive action. So the small action was make the phone call. The massive action for me is I'm going to be dedicating time aside throughout the year and cold calling every single contact out of my phone. I have like 1,700 contacts in my phone that I'm going to leave every one of them a voice message once I'm finished with my personal development and my self-development creation that I'm doing for myself and Grab Tomorrow, that I'm going to be able to offer to everyone for free. So I'm super pumped up to be able to offer this system that of everything that I've learned. I'm going to be offering that out. Most of it, 99% of it, is going to be for free to the public. There will be some opportunities for others to purchase some things and video courses, books, which I'm really pumped up about unveiling in the future. But I'm excited about that. So the small action, the massive action. So that's how he defined sales. Then he asked a question about what's a message that I need to get out. So if you're taking notes, that was a great question. What is a message that I need to get out? I think this was maybe even Russell Brunson. What's a question I need to get out? And Russell Brunson talked about creating a funnel of when you create a message, you want to influence the masses. Like you have a message. Maybe your message is about losing weight or getting healthy. Maybe your message is about staying in committed relationship, even if you have temptation. Maybe your message is how to do self-help work at home, like do-it-yourself projects, and not having to hire contractors. Maybe your message is working with young kids that were abused when they were younger. Whatever it might be, maybe you have a message that you want to help the world with. So what's your message that you need to get out to the world? And he talked about how to take that message and turn it into a funnel that allows people to get value while you're not actively there. How cool would it be if you have a passion project, you have something you're really passionate about, you're really excited about, that you can create a model that people can get value from that message even if you're not in front of them. So that concept was really exciting. And he asked some really important questions. Again, if you're taking notes, I would write these questions down. These questions only cost a couple $100 to learn, and you guys get it for free on my Facebook Live. So who's my target? What will I teach? What do they get? And what problem do I solve? So who's my target? What will I teach? What do they get? And what problem do I solve? So these questions are really powerful questions. And I was like, man, I thought I knew what these questions were. I thought I knew my answers, but it got me thinking of who is my target. I wanted to target everyone. Everyone deserves personal growth. Everyone deserves, time management and goal setting skills and alignment with self and personal growth. Everyone deserves that, how to stay motivated. But I really narrowed it down during those questions. I was like, okay, who's my target? My target are anyone who is starting, who's already started, they're in the beginning stages of their personal development journey. So I narrowed it down. I was like, okay, that's my target. Primarily ages 17 to 21 that are beginning, they started their personal development journey. So I narrowed it down for me. Then what will I teach? So I want to teach these individuals how to stay motivated on their journey, how to implement tools to get to their destination a little bit faster with and take the least resistant path. So how to stay motivated, give them some tools of influence and some support along the way, so that way they can get past their past as quick as possible. What do they get? They'll get different resources like books and journals and planners and video workshops and ebooks. And what problem do I solve? The problem I solve is getting them to where they want to go with less time and less consequence. So if they're 17 to 21, equipping them to get them to where they want to be at age like 25, 26 versus like 30 or 31, 32. So essentially cutting the curve down by a few years. So giving them an opportunity to work hard now intentionally, so that way they could create more opportunities for themselves in the future with what they do today. So that's kind of what I narrowed it down for. So who's my target? What will I teach? What do they get? What problem do I solve? And then creating a funnel is what Russell Brunson talked about on how to do that. And who has a funnel that I can model, and I want to buy their product. So I went to say, okay, Dean Graziosi kind of has a really awesome funnel and model. So I bought his book and his free book, and then you pay for the shipping. So I did that. And I saw his funnel, I bought his book. I was like, okay, the product is great. And then sketched my blueprint with his model. So then I sketched the blueprint where I have the book with, free plus shipping. And then there was another offer of like a course. And then it was another offer of like a webinar. And then there was another offer of like some like mastermind coaching. So it was like, okay, I got his funnel. So this is how to create a model through your passion project. And that's what Russell Brunson talked about. So you start at the top, work your way down, and who has a model? So I followed Dean Graziosi, bought his product, sketched my blueprint, and now I'm building my funnel that is ClickFunnels that is aligned with what Dean has done. So I've invested probably about 50 hours now since 10X GrowthCon creating and crafting the funnel scripts and the funnel themselves, and developing the content and just learning this, because it's like learning a whole new language for me. I have my engineering degree, and this is putting it to the test. So it's been pretty fun behind the scenes so far. My biggest challenge that I was concerned with was creating a list to drive to the funnel. And there was a really great resource that Russell Brunson talked about. It's called similarweb.com. So similarweb.com. And what it does, it shows you who has a similar, it'll give you an opportunity to see who has similar traffic to you. So if you think about you're in the health space, okay, who's in the health space that you might want to follow? Maybe there's this guy, Elliot Holst, that's Tampa based, and you're like, he has a great following, I want to follow him. So you go to similarweb.com, type in his space, and you will see who advertises and who places ads on his stuff, or where does he post his advertising. And now you can see where the space is. You could buy ads on the exact same site, and you could pay per click and funnel them to your brand as well. So it's a really great resource, similarweb.com. I thought that was really great, a great way to generate traffic to your funnel. So that was a great concept. Then there were 3 must questions that they discussed from stage. 3 must questions that you must answer. And I wrote these down. I really love these questions. Number 1, what do I love to do? Number 2, what am I good at? And number 3, what's a purpose larger than me that drives me? So what do I love to do? What am I good at? And what's a purpose larger than me that drives me? I love asking that question to young people, because oftentimes they get stuck in the trap of only do what do what makes money. Oh, study, be like a doctor, be an engineer, be an attorney. Like, only do the things that love you, or only do the things that make you money. But these questions are, what do you love to do? So what do you love to do? What is something that you're really passionate about, that you just love to do? You just do it for free. Maybe it's painting, maybe it's drawing, maybe it's basketball, maybe it's, teaching, speaking, drawing, writing, whatever it might be. You find your gift. All of us were given a gift. So it's like, okay, what do I love to do? I love to do this. Then it's like, what am I good at? So like, I love singing in the car, but I'm not very good at it. So I'm not going to become a professional singer. I really enjoy like doing raps and freestyle rhymes and stuff like that. But I'm not going to become a rapper. So it's like, you want to align those two of what do you love to do, but also what are you like really good at? Where if you got really, really good at it, people would pay to learn from you how to actually do what you do. So what do you love to do? What are you good at? And then what's a purpose larger than me that can drive you? So that way, when it gets tough, and it does, you can overcome those obstacles. So for me, how I interpret it is, what do I love to do? I love speaking. That's why I'm doing this Facebook Live. I love talking. And what am I good at? I'm also pretty good at teaching. I like teaching. I like speaking. Those kind of go together. So what's a purpose larger than me that drives me is, it sounds like really cliche, and it's a make-believe notion in my head that I feel that I can change the world. And it sounds so freaking weird, but I believe that not I could change the world, but I could change the world for someone. And that drives me, to wake up each day, to continue to grow, to continue to read, to take cold plunges, to give enough energy to things in my life. Because if I can be the person to inspire someone else at the moment that they needed to be inspired, and then they take action on the things that they might have been reluctant to take action on, and then they go achieve their dreams, which also inspires and influences more people, each one teach one, and then spreads, almost like pay it forward model. That's my due diligence. That's what I'm here for. That's my calling. And it sounds weird, but if I continue to impact and influence people, especially young people, they go into the business world, they go and do their passion projects, they pay it forward. So therefore, I'm doing my part as being like a Sherpa for young people. And that's the larger purpose. So what do I love to do? I love to speak. What am I good at? Teaching. And then what is my purpose that's larger than me, that drives me, is to change the world, or change someone's world that can also pay it forward. So I really love that. So as far as right now, if you're watching this live, you can feel free to post any questions or comments up until this point. I love questions. I love comments. That'd be really fantastic. But I'm going to just go ahead and continue with the seminar though. So there was a concept that was called 40% rule. This was by Jesse Itzler, and he talked about the 40% rule. He has an awesome book about I think it was called Living with a Navy SEAL. I think it was what his book was called. And the 40% rule he talked about was when the brain says I'm done, I'm only at 40% capacity. And the pain is the brain's protection mechanism. And he talks about that all of us have, all creatures have a protection mechanism. And I talk about this in some of my speeches too, that like a lizard's protection mechanism will lose its tail. A chameleon will change colors. A bird will fly. Well, humans, the brain, the protection mechanism in our brain is pain. Pain is our protection mechanism. But what he's talking about in his book and from stage is that when we experience pain, we're only at 40% capacity. That means we have 60% more of what we can do. And it's funny because I've been really consciously doing this specifically at the gym. And, I'm on a challenge right now, personal challenge of getting to do 10 consecutive pull-ups, chin-ups, and getting to a point where I could do 50 consecutive push-ups. I got a ways to go, but it's something that I'm consciously working towards. And I consistently have that conversation with my body where I'm done. Like I just yesterday when I was at the gym, I was doing my core workout, and I do 40 like in and out crunches, and I do 40 bicycle kicks, and then 40 flutter kicks, and then 40 like zigzags, just like as a core to end the workout. And almost like without fail, as soon as I'm done with the 40 in and outs, by the time I get to the bicycles, after like about 15 bicycles, my brain says, you're done, stop, like you're in pain, it hurts. And some of you guys that work out, you know what I'm talking about here. It's like, you're done. And I'm like, shut up, brain. I'm not even halfway yet. Screw you, brain. And I just keep going it. And I put a smile on my face. It sounds really weird, but I put a smile on my face because someone told me that you can't feel pain and pleasure at the same time. Just like you can't have fear and gratitude simultaneously. So I put a smile on my face, and I put a smile on my face, and I'm like, you know, I just smile as I'm doing these crunches that I'm in pain. And I work through the pain, and that's about that 40% threshold. And then I'll do the rest of the bicycles, and then by the time I do the leg flutters, my body is telling me, you're done, you're done, you're done, stop, you're gonna die. Like, and my body is telling me that, my brain is telling me that, but my real truth, the voice behind the thoughts, the observer of thoughts says, come on, I know you got more than this. Come on, I know you can do it. You've done it before, you could do it again. Like the observer of the thoughts, that's the real me, not the fear-based me, not the pain me. And that's what Mr. Itzler is talking about here, is that you have the ability to tap into the true you, the observer of the thoughts, when you experience pain. And it's those small decisions beyond the pain that create an environment in my head to create confidence. I'll say that again because it was powerful. He said, the small decisions that create an environment in my head to create confidence. The small wins are where self-confidence comes from. It's not the huge big wins, it's the small wins. And that made a lot of sense for me. Making those decisions, because if I gave up at 15 bicycle kicks and I know I didn't finish my workout, I know once I was done, once I get in my car, once I'm home, I'm willing to settle for less at some other point in my life, and it's going to show up. So the small challenges that we do to ourselves, whether it be at the gym, whether it be with our morning routines, with our alarm clocks, with saying I love you, getting into an argument with someone and saying I apologize, like I'm sorry, saying I love you, please forgive me, saying thank you. You know, all the little words, those are real small wins when we don't feel like saying those things. So that's what Mr. Itzler was talking about, the small wins. I love the two quotes that he gave, very simple quotes. He said, remember tomorrow. Remember tomorrow. He said every time that his buddies were asking him to go out and party with him, he's like, absolutely, let's go. It's go time. And then he would have that unconscious thought, the observer of thoughts that says, hey, remember tomorrow. And what that triggers for Mr. Itzler is remember tomorrow is, remember, you eventually have objectives tomorrow you're going to want to achieve. So if you want to achieve those objectives tomorrow and you make that decision right now, is that going to impede on tomorrow's opportunity? Like if you go out and get hungover, party like a rock star, you sleep, you go to bed at 4:30 in the morning, but you initially wanted to start your day at 6 and go to the gym and do your conference calls and your planning and all this stuff, remember tomorrow. And that little concept is what helped him become a multi-millionaire, which is really cool. So remember tomorrow. And he also said another quote, which I really loved. He said, I didn't come this far to only come this far. And that's when he was like super broke, and he was trying to land record deals. He was a white hip hop rapper, artist, and he was kind of telling a story. It was really funny. And he's like, I didn't come this far to only come this far. And what a great mantra to really live by. Like, I didn't come this far to only come this far. Like, there is more. There is more. So very inspiring. I really love that. So at one point during the 10X Growth Con, Grant Cardone brought his kids out on stage. It was really beautiful. And he has two beautiful daughters, super cute. They were adorable. And one of the advice, piece of advice that he gave to his daughters, or that came in conversation, is to redefine fear. And some people define fear as a wall, or turning back, or scared, or afraid, or turning point, or whatnot. And he defined fear as live with it until it's conquered. And he said, if you don't conquer that fear and that fear conquers you, where if you're scared to do something and you never do it because you were scared to, and it conquers you, life will never be the same again until you conquer the fear. So he said, anytime that you have a fear, this is advice for a kid, but I think it's more than just kids to take this advice. Anytime you have a fear, you want to live with it until it's conquered. And once it's conquered, once that fear is conquered, Boom, now you level up and find another fear. And life becomes a game, like Super Mario Brothers. Once you face that big bad guy at the end, you beat him, and then you level up, and then you have another worthy opponent. I know Tony talks about that. May have a worthy opponent. Even if it's a worthy opponent that's scary, do not back down until it is conquered. I love that. And he also said another advice for kids out there, and again, you don't have to be a kid to take this advice, is praise the effort, not the outcomes. So praise the effort, not the outcomes. And I know it's very simple to think about, but the outcomes are temporary. The effort and the outcomes sometimes aren't even replicatable, but the effort to create those outcomes, you can replicate. So he says, always praise the efforts, not the outcomes. So when he's raising his little girls, he's like, he's not saying, hey, congrats on the A on the report card, high five, great job on the A. He's saying, hey, what created that A on that report card? I love that. Great effort on creating that A. That's awesome, because his daughters can then replicate the effort versus chasing an outcome. Really powerful stuff there. So again, we're debriefing the 10X GrowthCon conference by Cardone, and we're in flow. So pretty good content so far. So if you're still with me, if you've been following along, you give me a thumbs up. You know, I love some feedback, some comments would be fantastic. So there was a great quote that Grant also said. He said, I get paid in proportion to the difficulty of problems that I can solve. And that was from Elon Musk. He said, I get paid in proportion to the difficulty of problems that I can solve. What an awesome way of approaching life and approaching business. That if you're like a little kid and you're like, oh, if you're listening as you're 17 years old, maybe not like a little kid, but you're 17 years old and you're like, society only pays me $8 an hour, $9 an hour, $10 an hour. Yeah, well, you're getting paid in proportion to the problems you solve. What problem are you solving? Bagging the groceries, folding the shirts. It's a pretty small, insignificant problem that establishment has. But if you can level up your ability to solve more problems and increase your capacity, then you will get paid in proportion to that. I really thought that was fantastic. So Ty Lopez had a very interesting message. Ty has a fantastic following, and he's done a great job with what he does with the Lamborghinis and hype and all of that. What I got from his message was the website support. He pulled up people from the audience and went through their website, and he gave 4 simple tips that I wanted to share with you from Ty Lopez's message. He said, number 1 is initially when they go to your website, right away, if you have a website, initially there should be a video explaining why you're here. So the first thing they should see on your website is a video of you explaining why they're here. Number 2, there should be beautiful faces, like sexy, funny, beautiful faces on the website, because people are attracted to that and it's going to make them want to stay. That was the second thing. Number 3, he said, no flashing, nothing like no moving parts on the website, no moving parts, because then it's going to take away from the video that's playing. And number 4, he said, the longer the video that's explaining your product and service, the more value you're going to give to your audience, meaning they're going to want more of what you have to say. So if that very first initial video is long, giving your visitor a ton of value, they're going to want more of what you have to offer, which I thought was interesting, because I thought it would have been a short video because the attention span's short. But he said, just give it to them. Give them goods. Like, first video, give them the goods where they want to click that button. They're like, I like that. I got a bunch of value from that guy or girl. All right, I'm going to subscribe. I want more of that. So don't go stingy on that initial video is what he said. So the 4 keys for website support from Ty Lopez, a video explaining why they're here, beautiful, sexy, funny faces, no flashiness, and then a longer video that explains your product and service to give them enough value where they want more. All right. The next conversation was that I loved Grant Cardone's conversation with Steve Harvey. I loved it. I thought it was just so powerful, it was just so rich, so genuine. So, it was really heartfelt. I loved it. And one of the quotes that Steve Harvey said is that my story is proof of what relentless pursuit looks like. My story is proof of what relentless pursuit looks like. And I just, my heart goes out to The Pursuit of Happiness. Like that Chris Gardner movie that Will Smith played. Like that just lights me up. I freaking love those types of movies. And to see Steve Harvey talk about a real experience was really fantastic. And I also love this. My gift is my pathway to success. And that kind of ties into what we talked about before with the previous questions. My gift is my pathway to success. So what do I do best with least effort? He said, what do I do best with least effort? And he said, making people laugh. He's like, that just comes natural to me no matter what's happening. My gift to the world is to make people laugh. So he said, that's what I do with least effort. He's like, why am I doing all this other stuff? I just got to make sure I do this. And he just became an expert at making people laugh. And that's why he's Steve Harvey. And I just thought that was beautiful. So the question that they posed to us is like, what is your gift? What is the gift that you offer? Thanks, Rebecca. I appreciate it, Rebecca. That movie is fantastic. What is your gift? What is your gift? So, and he said, once you figure out that gift, you'll love this. Once you figure out the gift, this is when you're born. Your true birth is not when you're actually put on earth. Your true birth, when you are born, is when you figure out the gift of why you've actually been put on earth, why you're here. And then he said, once you figure out that gift and once you're born, you want to make room to work on this, sell this, make this matter, make this happen, and nothing else matters once you reveal and once life reveals what your gift is, what your purpose is, why you're here, and nothing else matters. So what's really beautiful is when he said that, and, you know, he shared his story about when he realized his gift was, this is Steve Harvey, his gift was making people laugh. When he realized that, he's like, that's it, I'm doing this, nothing else. For me, my gift was revealed after Unleash the Power Within at Tony Robbins. And I was done with the event. It was the 4-day. I walked across the fire. My first time doing this was back in 2013. And it was the springtime 2013. I went to my hotel room. I actually, believe it or not, I just read my journal entry today. And it was really, really beautiful. And I have my old journal. As you can see, they're beat up. But that journal, this one here, was when I went to UPW and I read my journal entry that I wrote in 2013. It was really cool to see what I wrote in the spring of 2013. And it's cool. Without reading it to you, I'll just summarize what I said. Essentially is that I was in the hotel room. I remember clear as day. I was in the hotel room and I wrote 3 full pages in my journal, post Tony, that my role, my life, my mission is to inspire young people. Like, it came clear as day, like a ton of bricks coming down to me. Like, I need to inspire young people. Because, like, I went through so much in my adolescence of, like, overcoming being obese and overweight, 250 pounds. Like, I was like 80 pounds overweight for my age going into high school, and overcoming, death, and overcoming relationship challenges, and overcoming money situations, and overcoming moving out and becoming independent, financially, emotionally independent. Just all the things that I learned through my life. And I heard, my mess is my message. I had that written down. My mess is my message. I said, that's it. Boom. My gift, why I'm here, is to inspire young people. And that was my moment. And Steve Harvey shared his moment of, my gift is comedy, to share comedy with the world. So what is your gift? And if you know what it is, feel free to post it. I'd love to know. I'd love to know if you're following along with me right now. But what is your gift? That way you can make room to work on this and nothing else. I really love that. Then Grant Cardone did a workshop, late night workshop on real estate, which was really great content. I took a few notes on this that's definitely share worthy. He said, with real estate, every $1 buys $3 in real estate. That's your leveraging power. So if you have 100 grand, you could get $300,000 in real estate. If you have $1 million, you could get $3 million in real estate. So essentially, it's leveraging your cash for real estate. And he says cash is, what does he say? What does he say? Cash is crap, or he says something that's funny. But anyway, he has this different saying. I can't remember what it is, but cash is crap or something like that. But he says to buy real estate, because real estate is never going to go anywhere. Like, if I have money dollar bills with dead presidents on it. His philosophy is it can be taken away from you. It could depreciate in value. Like even though it's a tangible piece of paper, it's not a piece of property is the way he explains it. So he said there's 5 keys that he said when investing in real estate. And this was like this extra VIP type of workshop. People paid like probably, I don't know, a good amount of money to listen to. So these were my 5 takeaways from that workshop. And number 1, he said demographics. So if you're buying real estate, he said demographics. He said 25% of the U.S. population or 1/3 of the U.S. population will die in the next 25 years. All the baby boomers, he said. So all the baby boomers are going to die in the next 25 years. So he said it's important to think about the location of all of those people and being wherever they're going to be going in the next 25 years to die. He's like, think about the jobs. He said, think about the banks, think about the location, think about the needs of those people, and buy real estate there. That was his number 1 philosophy, demographic. Number 2, he said, homes that are affordable. So he said, search there. He said, no single family homes, no duplexes. He said, the smallest you ever want to get is number 3 key, is complexes with 32 units or more, not 1 or 2 doors. He says, it's not even worth the hassle. He said 32 units or more. Buy it right, find it right. And there's different venture capitalists, there's different partnerships, there's so many different ways, and you could partner with Grant if you wanted to, of how to fund it. But this is what he said. This is the how-tos of how to make millions and millions in real estate. So complexes with 32 units or more. Number 4 is you want to have properties that compete with luxury homes. The swimming pool, the fitness facility, the maintenance, the gated area. Like you want to have something that competes with luxury homes. And last one is you want to have nearby medical clinics or health centers that are nearby. So granted, some people are watching this like, yeah, it sounds pretty easy. What's nice is at least you have the blueprint. I'm not saying that, now we know. That's how I took it. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go do this, but it's like, now I know, at least I have it documented. So if I was in a position at some point in life, I at least have the knowledge stored in my brain where it's like, oh, snap, I learned that, therefore I can do something with it. Now, I may never use it, but at least I have it, and now you have it too. So $1 buys $3 in real estate, demographics, homes are affordable, complexes with 32 units or more, competes with luxury homes, and nearby health and medical centers. Grant also talked about repurposing content, and this was on the next day where he talks about repurposing content. He said, do something once, and then distribute it 5 more times, and kind of like this conversation I'm having with you. This eventually will probably get cut and edited and put on YouTube, and then I'll take clips from this and put it on Instagram, and maybe I'll take away some of the transcription. I'll get the audio transcripted into text and turn that into a blog post. I don't know if I could potentially turn it into a book of what I learned from Grant Cardone, so you could repurpose the content. And Steve Harvey talked about this actually too. He said a supermarket does this best. So when you go to the supermarket, you can buy the raw chicken. You get a whole raw chicken. And that's the cheapest you can get. The cheapest raw chicken, just like this is the cheapest you can get this conversation. It's free, okay? Then, once that chicken is about to rot, what do? They cook it, and they make it into a rotisserie chicken, and then they charge a little bit more. Once it's about to rot, once that rotisserie chicken is about to rot, what do? They turn it into some curry, they cook it up, and they put it on the buffet line, and then they charge even more. And the way he's talking about that is repurposing your content. It's the same chicken, but distributed and packaged differently once it's rotten. And how I interpret that is you do a Facebook Live conversation like this, then boom, you repurpose it on YouTube, Instagram, and then boom, you turn it into a book, and then boom, you could turn that into a speech at a seminar that you deliver to, and then boom, you could turn that into a workshop where people are wanting to know more about what you know, and then boom, you could turn that into coaching, and then boom, you could turn the coaching into mastermind groups, and you could turn mastermind groups into events, and then you could turn events into retreats, and you could turn retreats into platinum partnerships. I mean, and every step of the ladder increases how much it's worth. So just something to think about there. That was a great dialogue there. The next point that this was from Daymond. This was from Daymond from Shark Tank. This is really cool. He said, "The poverty of the mind is permanent, but being broke is temporary." Poverty of the mind is permanent, and being broke is temporary. And this is all actually from Daymond. Now I'm thinking about it. So not from Steve Harvey. So poverty of the mind is permanent, being broke is temporary. And he talks about he was broke. Like he was broke. He had no money. He was in rough situations, but he never thought he was stuck, I guess you would say. He knew he was eventually going to get out of it because he kept feeding his mind, learning, reading, journaling, practicing his spirituality. Like these are the things that feed the mind, to feed the soul, to feed the spirit, because the temporary situation that you're in is not forever. And he's a really big proponent on self-help, personal development, and I could definitely agree with that for sure. He defines selling as creating interest and then closing immediately. So once you have a client that's expresses interest, and he described how you know that they're interested is when they ask a question that's a buying question. So for example, if you, I'll just give you a personal example. If you're, say you're interested in one of my books, like I'm speaking right now and you're like, "Oh, Mike, you have books? Wow, I'd like more of this content." As soon as someone says, "Oh, I'd like more of this content, Mike, how much is your book?" That's a buying question. Boom. Nothing else I say matters. Now it's time to close and help that client, that potential client, own the product. So that's essentially what it is. Nice, Rebecca. I'm glad this is offering you some value. So this is good. Selling is just creating the interest and then closing immediately. I think that's a really powerful way of saying the same thing is just creating the interest. So how do you get someone interested? Give them value. Once you give them enough value, they're going to ask questions, and then you want to close. What does close mean? Help them make a comfortable buying decision today. Like sign the dotted line. Let's make decision. And what is decide? Where does decide come from? Decide comes from the Latin rooted word that means to cut off from. To cut off from. So if I decide that I want to own this, boom, they decided. Now I got to help them own it. And that's essentially how I view closing. And then Daymond also redefined what failure means. All he said is act, and regardless of the outcome, you learn. So whether it's a good outcome or the not expected outcome, you learn, and then you act again, only wiser. That's it. And just be better tomorrow. That's all he said. So he's like, I act, I learn, and then I act again, only wiser. What a cool philosophy. There's no such thing as failure and success. It's it. It's just I do, I learn, I do just better or more wiser. So rich, such a rich way of going about it. The last three talks that I'll go through with you were John Maxwell, and then Russell Brunson talked again, and then Pete Vargas. So I'll go through these with you because these were just, I got the most value from John Maxwell. In fact, I took the most notes, 2 full pages on John Maxwell. I've been a John Maxwell fan for years. I've read tons about, nice, Ed, nothing about years of analysis. We talked about that, analysis of paralysis. I've been guilty of that so many damn times in my life. So thanks for joining, Ed. I 100% agree. John Maxwell has fantastic content from, in fact, he has 82 books. 82 books. So if you don't know John Maxwell, you ought to know John Maxwell. He is the guru on leadership. This guy is fantastic. I highly recommend you picking up any of his books. There's some of his really tiny small books that you can buy in the airport, to some really big books, some foundational books like 15 Irrefutable Laws of Growth to 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I mean, tons of great books. So John Maxwell says that everything rises and falls on leadership. And he described it as everything worth having is uphill. So he said everything worth having is uphill. Nothing is quick, nothing is easy, nothing is fast, nothing is a surprise. It's always uphill. So he says, since I know it's uphill, I want to be intentional There's nothing accidental about climbing uphill. It's not like you get to the hill and you're like, let me go downhill. Like, you have to be intentional about climbing up the hill. So he says, if you know you're climbing uphill, you want to be intentional with each of your steps. And he gave some powerful, powerful tools for the intentionality of climbing up the uphill battle of leadership. And he gave a great quote to transition. I'll transition into his 4 keys that he gave on leadership. And before I transition, he said, most people don't lead their life, they accept their life. They don't lead their life, they accept their life. And I know in my adolescence, that was so true, that I accepted the fact I was just going to be fat and lonely. Like, I didn't have a girlfriend. My first girlfriend wasn't until I was like 15 years old. So it was like, I thought I was going to be fat and lonely. I accepted it. Like, this is just how it's going to be. And of course, you know, it's just the fragile mind of a lacking confident teen. But a lot of times those teenage thoughts show up in adults because they never actually led their life. They just accepted what is. And what John Maxwell's talking about is that you could change the course of your entire way of thinking because of leadership. So let's talk about this. Number 1, he said, number 1, be intentional with personal growth and self-development. Be intentional with personal growth and self-development. That's his number 1. There's 4 keys. That's number 1. Be intentional with personal growth, self-development. And number 2, just so you know, he said, have priorities. I'll give you the 4 and then I'll expand on each. Number 2 is have priorities. Number 3 is have partnerships. And then number 4 is add value to others. So his 4 keys that he gave to leadership and working uphill and going through leadership are those 4 things. I'm going to go through each of those and expand on them because I got tons of value from each. So be intentional with personal growth and self-development. What he said is focus forward. So he said, focus forward, meaning, are you leaving something or are you going towards something? There's always a chapter that's ending and beginning in life. And he said, which one are you focused on? The chapter you're closing or the chapter you're beginning? And he said, focus forward. Always wake up excited. Always wake up about what's next. And that was one way of, he said, and being intentional with focusing forward. And he said, 1 hour per day for 5 years, you'll become an expert. And that was a quote from Earl Nightingale. So this concept of 1 hour per day for 5 years, he used to ask himself a question growing up of how long will it take? How long will it take? Like, how long is this going to take me? And he said, Earl Nightingale told him, 1 hour a day for 5 years. And what's interesting enough, John Maxwell offered such a great, rich content that I'm about to give to you right now. And if you have a pen, I would write this down because it's so rich. And he said, once that 1 hour a day for 5 years expired and he did it and he reached this place, he's like, now what? Like, now what? I did it. I'm an expert. Great. He changed the question. And the question went from how long will it take to how far can I go? How far can I go? And he said, there's no finish line. It's just like, how far can I go? Forget about a finish line. Just how far? How far? Keep pushing forward. He's like, if I just had that philosophy that there's a finish line, he said, that's death. So forget about the end. Just focus on the journey and being intentional with that journey. And he said, my philosophy is just test, fail, learn, improve, start again. Test, fail, learn, improve, start again. Test, fail, learn, improve, start again. And he just wanted to make sure that he constantly learned every single day. What a great philosophy on being intentional about leading your life with intentionality. He said, there's no guarantees in life. The only guarantee is that you'll be better tomorrow if you grow today. There's no guarantees in life. The only guarantee in life is that you'll be better tomorrow if you grow today. What a beautiful quote. I love that. He also said, educators take simple things and make them complicated. Communicators take complicated things and make them simple. So are you an educator or a communicator? I love that. So he said there's 4 keys. John Maxwell said there's 4 keys to leadership. Number 1 was be intentional. Number 2 is priorities. You want to have priorities. And he said the priorities no, he comes in a rule of 5 with these priorities. And the priorities of number 1, first rule of priority is know what you want. So you have to have a goal. Number 2 is you want to have the right tool to achieve that goal. Number 3, stay focused. Number 4, be consistent. And number 5, stay with it until the task is done. I love the analogy he came up with. You're about to love this, right? You're about to love this. So this analogy he came up with, he said, if I have an axe and I have the same tree, I have an axe and I have the same tree, and I get 5 swings at this tree every day, 5 swings every day. So he said, number 1, know your outcome. What's my outcome? To chop the tree down. Number 2, have the right tool. I got to have an axe. If I had a shovel or if I had a screwdriver, I don't have the right tool. So I have an axe, I have the tree, I want to chop the tree down. So you got to get the outcome if you have the right tool. Number 3 is stay focused. It's got to be the same tree every day. Same tree every day. If you're trying to take 5 swings at this tree and then 5 swings at that tree and then 5 swings to the tree next door, you're not going to have that happen. You got to take 5 swings at the same tree every day. And then he said, number 4 is be consistent. Every day, 5 times, every day. And number 5, until the tree falls down. What a great analogy. What a great analogy. I love that. So have priorities. Know what your one thing is and focus on it. He gave this secret tip on how he wrote 82 books. John Maxwell's tip. Secret tip to writing 82 books. I got it for you right here. Ready? Read, think, file, ask questions, write, repeat. That's it. What? How to write 82 books? Read, think, file, ask, write. Read, think, file, ask, write. So what is it? What does that mean? He broke this down in one of his books. I think it was 15 or a few laws of growth. But he broke this down. Read at least 30 minutes a day. He reads it and then ponders on what he just read. Read, think, then file. What does that mean? File that thought in the brain. Or what he talks about is actually legitimately filing that thought. He has a legitimate filing cabinet of thoughts, and every one of those thoughts is a chapter in each of his books. Check this out. So if he has a chapter in a book called Perseverance, every time he has a thought on perseverance, he files that thought in the chapter called Perseverance, and that's how he writes a book on perseverance. Amazing. Then he asks questions about perseverance. Ask questions. What do people need to know about that? What is it about that I want to know? What is it about the future needs to ask questions and then write it down in a journal, capture it, or write it down to file it and store it for a later time or just to anchor it into the brain. Read, think, file, ask questions, write. Those are priorities. So he said there's 4 keys. John Maxwell, 4 keys to leadership. Number 1, be intentional. Number 2, have priorities. Number 3, partnerships. He said, develop relationships with people that I add value to and they add value to me. They're assets. They're assets and to me, and I'm an asset to them. And he said it's partner, and he broke it down with P-A-R-T-N-E-R, partners. And I'll just go through those pretty quick, that acronym, but he says, put your agenda ahead of mine. Their needs before my needs. Add value to them every day. I want to make sure that I complete them. I complement them. I offer them as much support as possible. R, resource your resource ideas. So you want to essentially resource your ideas with them. So offer my tools, offer my influence, offer any resources that I have to this partnership. You could call it a running mate, if you will. Tailor my services to their needs. So whatever it is I could do to satisfy their needs, never violate the trust that I have with them, exceed their expectations, and reward the relationship. He said, anytime you have a partnership that's disappointed in anything, it's because the disappointment is a gap between expectation and delivery. Disappointment is the gap between expectation and delivery. So if there's ever that disappointing feeling, that's what happened. They had an expectation, you didn't deliver. So keep that in mind with your partnerships. Now, you don't have to partner with everyone. That's silly. but think about the people that your needs are their needs and their needs are your needs, and you are aligned, and create partnerships with them so you have running mates on the exact same journey together where you can make a positive and powerful difference for each other to scale that influence to the world. A good acquaintance of mine, Delatoro McNeil, he said 1 + 1 = 11. Because you take two great like-minded individuals and you could scale that and spread that to a lot of people. It shouldn't just make two, it should make a many. So that's partnerships. And number 4, last point for John Maxwell on leadership, is add value to others. Add value to others. You must always think in ways on how you could add value to other people first. I think this is really simple philosophy on leadership, but I think it's really important because there's so many people that have an entitlement mentality. It's like, whoa. I don't want to tell them they look great unless they tell me I look great first. You know, we give to get, or we want to get before we give. And that's okay, but that's not real leadership. Real leadership, according to John Maxwell, is always look for ways to add value to the other person. Not with a hook, not with a string attached, not like I'm going to give you a compliment so you give me one in return, because then if they don't give you a compliment in return, you have some sort of remorse or some sort of animosity because there was an expectation on the gift. So give encouragement, give gifts, give thoughts, give compliments, and do things to add value to other people. So that's John Maxwell's tools on leadership. And the last 2 that I'll go through with you and then I'll wrap up is Russell Brunson. He talked about the 4 stories that you must tell in order to enroll an audience into your funnel, into your model. The 4 stories are, number 1 is my origin story on how you got things rolling. Number 2 is your vehicle story, how you got from where you were to where you are. Number 3 story is your story of internal beliefs. So you want your audience member to say, go from I can't do that to I can do that. And number 4 story is external beliefs of can I actually do that? Like the actions behind it of like, can I drive traffic to this website? Can I actually lose the weight? Some sort of external story. What would my wife say? And when you explain those 4 stories of my origin story, the vehicle story, the internal belief story, and the external story, each of those stories are to handle concerns of your visitor to your website or to your brand. And when you handle those 4 concerns to the visitor, they're going to end the story or the webinar or the experience with saying, I want to do business with you. So handling those 4 stories will give them an opportunity to receive your offer with an open mind, an open heart, and an open checkbook, as they put it. So those were the stories. And the last one was Pete Vargas, who did an awesome job on getting sales from stage, building a framework of stage presence, create, collect, convert. So he gave a great message on creating sales from a stage. So he said, create, collect, convert was his 3 big points that I got. Create products and programs, collect lists, and then convert those into clients. So he said, create products, programs, and services. So before you go take a stage could be a webinar, a stage could be a Facebook Live, a stage could be anything. You set a stage. And before you take that stage, you want to have some sort of product, program, or service that you're going to be able to offer to people before you take the stage. Number 2 is collect names from people by giving something away for free. He said a free item that they normally would pay for, something that's a 15-minute win for them. Maybe it's an ebook. Maybe it's a question, like a template of questions that can help them with their business. Maybe it's a report that will help them with their business, something that can help them. You give them something that can help them, and within 15 minutes, they could see some sort of results or some sort of change. So collect names by giving them some sort of free giveaway. And then number 3 is follow up, convert them into clients by having a follow-up campaign for 2 weeks following that experience. So during those 2 weeks, you essentially want to solve their problems for them and anyone that they know. So during your follow-up campaign, whatever your topic was, so I'll give you an example for this. So let's say your product that you have, I'll use a personal example. I have a product which is a guided journal, okay? It's a guided journal. It's designed where you could open up the page to any page in the book and it has a guided question of the day, some thoughts for Mike, and some action steps for the day. And it's a really powerful tool for someone that just feels stuck and they want to get unstuck and they feel like the mind is capturing them a little bit and they feel a little stuck and they want to unlock that. The guided journal is a great way of doing that. So let's say that's my product. So step number 1 is I have a product. So what I want to do is I want to have that product. I already have that service. Step 2 is to give it away for free. So if I said, hey guys, as soon as I'm done with this Facebook Live, if you like this concept, if you like me, and if you like my brand and you want more of me, hey, go to this website, go to the site, and I'm not going to give the site yet because I got to finish building it. But once I'm done, you'll get it, and I'll give this journal away for free. You go to the site, and I'll give it to you for free. And within a 15-minute session with this journal, you will automatically be able to see that you'll unlock the shackles of your mind to help you get motivated, which is really cool. So that's what I'll give away for free. And then what I'll do is for 2 weeks following that free journal, that's what I'm working on right now, is to have emails that are sent to you for 2 weeks. Maybe it's every day, maybe it's every other day, that provide more value on how to stay motivated, how to unlock your mind, that can help you solve your problems of making sure you stay unstuck, to make sure you stay motivated, to stay the course, and also for anybody that you're around, so you could take that content and share it with your loved ones. So by the end of 2 weeks, my last email will be like, hey, if you want more of this, I have a video workshop series that you can purchase, or I have more books that you could purchase. I have 9 books that you could check out, and giving more content where they want more because I treated them right, I enrolled them, and that's kind of what Pete Vargas talked about. So how to create, collect, and then convert into clients. So I know there's a lot of info that I just shared with you. That was, again, couple hundreds, people spent thousands on this seminar, and I just delivered it to you all in whatever that was, maybe an hour or so. So if you got some value on this, post any of your comments below. If you're watching this and you took some notes and any takeaways that you took, I would love those comments. I'd love the feedback, and just stay tuned. I'm going to be hosting another actual webinar where I'm going to continue offering value, similar topics of what I'm learning, to share that with all of you and my interpretations of some of the content that I'm receiving. Like I said, the last 6 months I've gone on this great personal growth journey, whether it be business growth, intrinsic growth, execution, relationships. I mean, just so many cool concepts and content that I've learned. I just can't wait to share with more people. So stay tuned for more of that. And we'll keep the conversation going. You could follow, I've grabtomorrow.org. I have my Instagram. I have a whole YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com/Mike A Speaks, if you go to that to subscribe, I have probably 100 hours of content on there of all different topics of public speaking and time management and teaching and motivation and self-help, like hundreds of hours of content on Mike A Speaks. You could just go to youtube.com/Mike A Speaks. You could go to just search my name, Mike Abramowitz, as well. So you can also follow me on Snapchat. And I definitely appreciate all of you for joining me, and hopefully you got some content and got some value. So have a fantastic rest of your night.